Welcome everyone. Thanks for joining the To Hull and Back podcast, back again after the World Cup to discuss all things Hull City, proudly sponsored by 6 Yards Out and Pearson's Bar. I'm your host, Nathaniel, and tonight we're joined by Matt and Tom. So, guys, how are we, and are we looking forward to talking about something other than the World Cup?
Yes. Yeah, kind of.
Kind of. Well,
yeah,
kind of.
The discussion point for this evening will be back to Hull City, so we'll make a judgment on whether or not that's positive or negative, pal.
It's probably negative. I mean, we've had some good years, but this season, we are still 21st, aren't we?
We've had some good years.
Good years.
The club hasn't died, mate.
No.
Still going.
But, we've got a good owner. He was pictured at the World Cup final along with Frassini, so hopefully they've learned a thing or two about how to, play exciting attacking football, which is what Ozan wants. I'm sure he had a lovely time at the World Cup final. We'll mention it briefly. Are we all happy for Messi to win the World Cup? Because I certainly am.
Yeah, I was buzzing with that. I think before the tournament, I predicted Argentina to win it, but I did a bet where it was Argentina to win it and Harry Kane top scorer. And I was tossing head between him and Mbappe, which seems ridiculous now, but obviously Mbappe, top scorer, hat-trick in the final. So,
well, I predicted the same thing.
Game. Yeah. Oh, did you? All right, you two big shots. All right.
Joel did a predictor league sort of thing, and I predicted Kane to be top scorer and Argentina to win. But really, the Kane one was more a from the heart, not from the mind.
Yeah, that was what it was. Mm-hmm. I thought he'd smashed the group stage, to be fair, score like 6 goals, and then it didn't happen.
Well, I thought he'd do that at the Euros, and he didn't. But yeah, it's a shame, really. But it's still a fantastic tournament.
It was on that point. It was a phenomenal tournament. We talk about the antics off the pitch, and that's something that loads of people have commented on. But in terms of football, it was the best World Cup I've seen. I've watched them since 2006, and just there was a few 0-0s in the group stages, but then there was upset, there was great goals. The final, yes, there was unbelievable. Yeah. Just as you thought Argentina were just going to roll away with it, happy days, and the best player in the world at the moment, Mbappe comes in with 2 goals in 90 seconds. It was phenomenal. I was glued to me screen. I was screaming. I was everything. It was one of the best games of football I've ever seen, and arguably the best World Cup final there's ever been. It was out of this world, and to the point I'm happy with Messi. Yes, chuff for him, because it's the one thing he's not been able to win, and he's won it, and it's it's a full circle for him. If people didn't think he was the best player ever to have ever lived, then this is the nail in the coffin in that argument, in my opinion. Some people may disagree. Some people might think King Lewis Potter's the best player of all time.
Well, and they would be wrong. I mean, I don't.
Really or Ryan Longman.
Well, I would say that. Although, my whole thing is that he's going to become the best player in the world, but he hasn't been yet. I mean, at the moment, it's Mason Mount, as we all know. But it was a great tournament. 2-0, the most dangerous scoreline in football, as Burnsy would say. That sort of proved true almost in the end for France and Argentina. But let's get off that. Get on to the more important stuff, the stuff we're here for. Hull City have come back with a draw against Watford, and then another draw against Sunderland. One good clean sheet, and in the second game, a lovely finish from Ozan Tufan. I think I was very happy with the result at Watford, getting a clean sheet against a team that's got a lot of exciting attacking players. I know Ismail Assar wasn't there because he was still with his family after the World Cup ended and England beat Senegal. But then slightly more disappointed with our result against Sunderland. So really, I'll start with you, Tom. A 0-0 at Watford, bit boring perhaps, but that's a good result, isn't it?
I actually felt it wasn't too much of a boring game, to be fair. I went to it, and to be honest, before the game, you see 0-0 against a side challenging for promotion, and you think, oh, that's a great result. But with the pattern, how the game sort of played out, I felt there was a point in the game around the 60th minute where I was going for it, and then I think Frassini made the decision to sort of go more conservative by bringing on 2 defenders. And although it was probably the right decision in the grand scheme of things, I felt it was a time when we had them in the game where we was attacking well, and I felt that goal was coming. But I guess it was probably the right decision to sort of shut up shop and take the point, because obviously it's a great point to get. It's one that I didn't expect us to get before the game, to be honest.
Well, I think everyone on my preview, so me and two Watford fans, we all predicted, I think, a Watford win or a 2-0 Watford win. So, yeah, a clean sheet was definitely a surprise there. Do you think that, I'm going back to when we had Slutsky and we were conceding too many goals and Adkins had to sort of make it all boring again and grind out some 1-0s and 0-0s. Do you think it's a case that, especially with our poor defensive record, we've seen it with 2 clean sheets under Rossini already, and against Sunderland we scored, but we weren't exactly free flowing. Is it a case that we sort of need to, be more solid at the back, and then slowly the attacking play will get better? Do you agree with that, Matt?
Yeah, I totally agree with that point. Totally agree with it. Look, we had the most conceded goals in the league when Rossini took over. And I'm not too sure where we are now, but we're obviously near the top of that list. We may even still be top. It was like so obvious what we needed to do. We needed to shut up shop, and we actually needed to get the team defending again. I mean, Jesus Christ, it took so many games. I mean, even just the first game when he played Millwall and we got the 0-0, it was a really, really good thing for fans and for the teams actually. So we've got that in us to keep a clean sheet. Now, I absolutely agree that you build from the back, and then ultimately, hopefully, that leads to a goal. I think that we'll come on to the Sunderland game later on, but it was a case of like we looked, fairly respectable on the ball, and against Watford, I think that it was actually a sensible decision to sort of make defensive substitutions. Tom, I think there's, the course of the game, I think that there was that little spell, but I just felt that as the game went on. I think if you didn't make those decisions at that point, then you knew just they were going to get back into the game and probably would have scored 1, and knowing City would have conceded 3. So I think it is a case of building from the back, building that confidence. We've got some young, good defenders in that side that need a bit of confidence. And I'm just very glad that that's been addressed, although you then look at how we looked going forward, and it was a bit stop-start, a bit stale in both the Watford game and the Sunderland game. So it's the hardest thing in football, scoring goals. But at least he's addressed one problem so far.
Yeah. I think the catalyst to that change has been the introduction of Sean McLaughlin, or one of the catalysts, and obviously Matt Ingram's in goal. Great shot stopper. Not sure about how he is with the ball at his feet, but I think in terms of stopping goals, which is what he's paid to do, I think he's done a great job, and he's made some crucial saves in the last 2 games that have sort of kept us in it, really. Well, or at least kept the score at a minimum. So, but I think Sean McLaughlin coming in, he's someone that we know can play with the ball at his feet. We've seen it numerous times, and I think it was only a matter of time before he was given his chance. And obviously with this break, it's done him good, because it's given him a chance to sort of get to know Rossini and get to know the system again, and sort of like integrate him into the side. And I think he's sort of took his chance now. And obviously,
do you think Ingram was at fault for Sunderland's goal?
I think it was a mix-up between. I think it was more the defence, to be honest. I think if he was a bit more proactive off his line and sort of anticipated the ball coming over the top, he'd have read it and sort of cleared it. But he sort of hesitated and then did a weird jump to try and stop, try to block it. And yeah,
I think for me, I looked at that goal and I was disappointed because it was defensively. You looked at the entire game as a whole, and we looked fairly all right. And then there's always moments in football when the best defenders look terrible, and it's just the way the game is. But we looked okay. And it was that again, that goal we always can see where it's a mistake or somebody's not quite there. And it just frustrates me because, you think about what Rossini's tried to do. I said it there that, building from the back and all that stuff. And it was again, like, I felt he came forward, then he stopped, then he went back, then he tried to retreat more, and then he jumped. And it was just like, that's 4 decisions made in about 4 seconds. And I just thought if it had just been pretty sure about the ball coming over, it'd have just gone in there, headed the ball clear, would have been fine. If it had stayed on his line, there was defenders that were kind of there that may have helped, and he may have scored. But it was that awful in-between one where I thought he particularly was at fault for that goal. Obviously, the defence could have been a bit better, but I agree with the point. He's a good shot stopper, but I said a few podcasts ago, we need to invest in a goalkeeper. Baxter's not good with his feet. Ingram's not good with his feet at all. I just think that needs to be like a real thing that we need to look at in January, because I said again, building from the back, Rossini's wanting us to play like a top 6 team where we're trying to pass it out from the back and we're trying to do that sort of style of play. We can't do that with the goalkeepers we've got, unfortunately.
Do you think that Lutatalo would get a chance? I've heard that he's pretty good at the ball with his feet, or do you think if he was good enough, he'd have been given a chance already?
Kid's 19, isn't he? 18, 19.
Yeah.
Like he's
not ready, I think. Yeah.
Well, you've got some of the best goalkeepers, like Donnarumma's one of the best goalkeepers in the world, and he was playing for Milan when he was 18, 19. But that was an anomaly, really. I think that, if you've got 2 goalkeepers, one who's on loan from, one of the top teams in the Premier League, another one that's been in the Championship for many years, if I'm Liam Rossini, I'm thinking that those 2 are, between them, acceptable for what we've got right now. I won't bring in the young lad in, but I think ultimately, even though we've got 3 goalkeepers, I still don't think, in terms of the style we want to play, they're good enough to kind of justify their position long term for Hull City under Liam Rossini.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and to go back to your previous point, Tom, we are the worst defensive team by 6 goals, but we're not the joint worst in the whole country anymore. There were 2 teams worse in League One, so that's something, because at one point we were the worst in the country. Yeah. So I guess Rossini has improved us a little bit. And thinking about goalkeepers, looking at these notes I've made, these were some that I'd made just after the Watford game. One was that Tufan had a very shocking miss, really, or blazed over the bar when he should have scored. Is Tufan, something about him not being having a lot of end product, and then of course he scored a great goal against Sunderland. And similarly, I put should we keep Ingram over Baxter, because he made some great saves against Watford and then makes some mistake against Sunderland. So so much for my notes. But I think really it's not worth replacing Ingram or Baxter with Lutatalo if he's good on the ball, because it's not quite like we're Man City. I know Edison gets a bit of criticism because he doesn't really make a lot of great saves, but he's good with his feet. We don't have a defence as good as that. We concede a lot of shots. So I think a shot stopper like Ingram or Baxter is probably the way forward. And we'll get onto it towards the end of the podcast, what we need in January. But already it sounds like we need a goalkeeper. But then, as you said, Sean McLaughlin's come in. Who knows if it's just been down to him that we've got a clean sheet and only conceded 1 in 2 games. But it's a surprise it took so long for him to come back in. So, Tom, you were at the Watford game. Just how well did McLaughlin play?
Yeah, I think he added a calming presence to the team. It's something that we've missed. I think he's someone that can bring out the ball from the back, and he's assured on the ball. I think that's the main thing, and he's got a good passing range as well. So I think in order to build attacks, where I've had Figueiredo in the past sort of constantly give the ball away, in dangerous areas, at least we've got someone now there that is comfortable on the ball and he's able to sustain and recycle attacks. I think that's the key. The main thing I noticed about the Watford game after the break was how more comfortable we looked in possession of the ball. I think there was times, before the break and before Rossini's reign where we sort of looked hurried, looked panicked. But I think now we've got the sort of players like Seri in there that can sort of recycle possession well. He's able to get out with these tight areas, and I think he's the sort of key player in that team that can get us ticking forward. He very rarely makes an error. I think he's sort of someone that's flourished in Rossini's system because it suits him more, the sort of passing style and possession-based sort of style where there's no in between. I think moving forward, I think that's sort of what will work for us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So then we moved on to back to the MKM. We bottled the Rach Carter Trophy. For people who didn't know, of course, it's 20 years that the MKM has been around. Its various iterations, and the first ever team we played, I think, was Sunderland in a friendly. And at that game, Rach Carter, I think, was an old player who used to play for Hull and Sunderland, maybe, or was maybe born in Hull.
He's the best player in Sunderland's history. Like he was phenomenal for them,
right.
And then joined us towards the sort of latter stages of his career. I think he took us to an FA Cup quarter final and a league title as well, or certainly got us promoted. But yeah, one of their best players. They've got like an arena in Sunderland named after him. Yeah, he was phenomenal for them.
Yeah, thanks for the insider knowledge there. So we didn't get the trophy because that was what we were competing for. on the 20th anniversary of the stadium. What did we expect going into this game? Because I suppose the point isn't too terrible. It's two games we haven't lost, and we have lost a lot of games this season. But I think it's the commentators on FIFA always say it's disappointing when you don't win at home any time. So did we expect a little bit more, Tom?
To be fair, going into the game, I knew that we're sort of possession-based team now, and I knew, like, looking at Sunderland's previous games and what I've heard from other Sunderland fans, that they're sort of pressing side, and it was unfortunate against West Brom apparently to not sort of score more than they did in the first half, and I felt that would be the point where we'd struggle, because Sunderland know that we're trying to start from the backs of the presses, and there was points in the game where instead of just sort of getting the ball out, we'd sort of fanny about with it in our own half and sort of pass it around the back line. And I felt we sort of like lost some momentum going forward. I think there was times in the game as well where Ingram could have got the ball out quicker, but instead he let sort of Sunderland reset, get back into shape, and sort of lost that momentum there. And then it wasn't until they got a man sent off where we showed more impetus going forward, because Sunderland lost their press. They sort of naturally dropped back, and that's how we sort of looks obviously look better going forward, because was taking the game to them more instead of just sort of passing it around and not really showing much purpose. But yeah, I sort of expected us to struggle against the press. I think it's still a work in progress. Rossini's sort of passing game, and I think until we get that right, it's going to be a struggle in quite a lot of games, especially against teams that are press.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Matt? Is it a point gained from being down, or is it 2 points dropped because we had a penalty and they had a red card?
Yeah, I mean, the course of the game suggests that we should have won. Chances, referee with some poor decisions. As you say, the red card and the penalty. I mean, after the game now, you thought, we should have won that game. I think I'd love to see how Rossini reacts when we continue playing the way we do and it gets to February and we're still around the relegation zone. I wonder if he sticks with how he wants us to play rather than just like getting points on the board, because I think ultimately the way we're currently trying to play is a risk and very much a trying to think of a way to describe it. It's one of them ones where you've got to work on it a lot for it to go right and have the right players for it to go right. And at the moment, we kind of don't. So therefore, it's going to be a big January. So I'm just quite intrigued to see how that goes. But yeah, overall, the game, I think that a lot of us thought that of the two games we mentioned tonight with Sunderland and Watford, I think Watford were very happy with the point. And yet, having seen the Sunderland game, disappointed with the point.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So what did we think of the referee's performance? Because this was Gavin Ward, the same referee of the Reading match, where he was fairly terrible. He did give us a penalty and did give a red card to Sunderland, but I mean, I think even those decisions were somewhat debatable. I think looking at them, I can see why they've been given. So, what did we think? Was it as bad as the Reading game?
You can see why they've been given. I mean,
well, the penalty.
Stevie Wonder could have seen one they've been given. They were the most stonewall red card and penalty I've ever seen. Like, he absolutely clattered into him for the penalty, and the red card was unbelievably obvious. I think what does my head in is that you looked at the decisions, and I think there's a compilation on Twitter of the referees' decisions. I saw like I think it was like a 6-minute video. Sadly, I watched that, and it was just there was some way you thought, fair enough, but the majority were really like poor, and they talked about it afterwards. They talked about it on Humberside. It was just a lot of poor decisions that affected the game, affected the flow of the game, the decisions that were made. There was decisions in there that you just thought, what is this guy doing? And it's so frustrating because some referees are so good and let the play go on and they don't yellow card people and they just do everything right. And you get to a game like it was on the weekend where it just completely like ruined the game itself. It was such a shame because you thought that if some of those decisions would have correctly gone our way, we would have won that game, and therefore it was tough to take. So I was disappointed with the referee overall, mate. It was a poor display.
So do we need VAR in the Championship then?
Absolutely not.
I agree with that. I agree. I'm just playing devil's advocate, really.
I don't. But you make your point, T, and I'll jump in.
To be fair, right, with that red card, I think that's one of the first times in I don't know however long I've seen a player get stretched off and receive a red card at the same time. Probably Everton. I was just I was just sort of when he got on the stretch, I was sort of hoping the referee would bottle it, but obviously he pulled out his red card, so I was happy with that. Obviously, it was a still more red card to be fair.
Because of course he came out off worse. Just saw on Sunderland's Twitter page that he's going to be out for a few months. So hopefully the injury wasn't too bad. So I think he was in a neck brace and a knee brace. So yeah, I guess it doesn't serve him right for the bad tackle, but yeah.
The tackle itself. Are you surprised?
He's seen how high his foot was.
He's tried to switch in music him.
It's like Nigel de Jong from all them years ago.
Yeah.
It was a terrible. I don't know what was going on in his head. It was a shocking tackle. And the point on VAR, right? I just think that there's a lot more fouls in the EFL. There's a lot more decisions. So I agree with the point. If you were going to make it that VAR is something that may stop the game, the flow of the game, etc. I can vouch for that because, like I said, there's not more fouls. But some of those decisions today, somebody in his ear just needs to say, "Wake up, man!" Because it was all the fans, even looking on Sunderland fans' Twitter, they were saying that the referee was on their side. How often do you hear that? They're waiting, thinking they've got overlooked. It was beyond a joke, and I think that if there's somebody in your ear who can just say, you know what, like that's potentially one, but he's got two linesmen there and a fourth official that are all in his ear as well. So then again, what my point there may be just a nonsense point because there's between the four of them, they should have been able to see quite a few of those decisions that happen. So yeah, just really disappointed, and the only reason why I'd sort of vouch for VAR in the EFL is to try and stop these nonsense decisions from happening.
Fair enough. But I don't really think it would help a whole lot, especially as a lot of the decisions are about the flow of the game, just the little free kicks here and there. But really, VAR doesn't even judge on those things. But we don't want to get into another VAR cesspit. So Oscar Estepinian, he's our top goal scorer. He has just come back. He should really be fresh because he's not played a lot. And everyone's had a month off, really. So I don't know whether this is a great excuse, but came in with a lot of expectation and he started very well. But his form recently has been fairly dire. He had a huge chance to, score from the penalty, put it wide. So Oscar Estepinian, what's gone wrong, Tom?
It's really hard to say what's gone wrong because he's sort of this sort of striker that relies on service into the box, and when you don't give him that service, his obviously confidence is going to get lower, and he's subsequently his confidence dropped that low that he's managed to put that penalty wide, and I just feel like maybe I'd say he needs some time at the firing line, but I think he's only just come back, so I don't know. I don't think we'll play to his strengths there. That's the sort of thing. He's someone he's great when you get the ball in the box, but he's not good on the ball. He's not really that good at holding it up, and he's not that sort of linking striker. Is that one that's going to finish the chances off? But if we're not playing like that, we're playing as more of a fluid front three, like with Longman, Slater, and Kerr. I think he's someone that doesn't really fit into that system. I think we look much better when Longman's up front, because he makes some great runs in behind, and yeah.
I'm happy you said that, but even so, we've got this very high caliber striker. You'd expect him to do better. We always seem to sign strikers and then don't play to their strengths. Is it some sort of cruel joke maybe that we're doing? Because he really needs the service. So Matt, what are you surprised at his lack of form?
No, I was just typing in there what his run of games has been. He's scored one goal since August, lads.
Well,
one goal.
Give me a moment. I'll look at all the games he's not scored in.
So I'm there. He's not scored. So he's scored one goal. That was against Wigan when we won. And the other games he's played in, he's played a few 90 minutes, and then a few that have been sort of like off the bench. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9,
14.
10, 11, 12, 13, 14 games. 14 games, one goal.
Yeah, he's still the second top scorer, I think, in the champ.
Yeah, it's like he had a barnstorming start. I think that's the thing that that is frustrating. I think it frustrates all City fans. Is that when he came in and he's scoring all these goals, you thought, flipping it, this is a great player.
We know he can do it.
Bit of pace. Yeah, we know he can do it. He's scored all types of goals. He scored penalties. He scored goals with his head. He's powered through defenders, lashed it in. It was great. And then it's been such a shame to see kind of the drop off because when you're in a team and you've got that sort of the manager changes and he almost plays like Steven Gerrard when he plays for Villa, because what Villa do is they rely on like a Coutinho to have a great game and therefore they all have a great game. And the reason why he lost his job and the reason why Villa has struggled as of late before Emery was because Coutinho was off form. And therefore, the entire team suffered. Like, we played towards having to basically, if our best player isn't good, then we lose games or we don't score. And this is the same here. Like, he scored 7 goals in his opening, 6 games? And then he scored 1 in his last 14, and his last goal, and he's, let's say, 1 since August. It's poor. It's not good. And I think that what Rossini's got to do, and this is probably his biggest test, really, because shoring up the defence, yes, it's a task in itself, but you'd argue that as a former defender and somebody who's played in plenty of systems, he would be able to do that. It's about unlocking that from sort of 5-6, particularly Oscar Estepinian, because we know his quality, having seen it at the start of the season. So he's got to do something about it because there is a real player in there. He just needs to unlock him.
I do think that with the fact that Aliar and Tete's been injured, I think that Oscar's sort of gone off the boil a lot more. I think when they was all fit, that's when Oscar looked at his best. Aliar marauded him down the right side, explosive. Tete as well, bullying defenders, getting crossed into the box. I think them 3 was formidable at the start of the season, and then obviously when they both get injured, I think, and then we've got 2 changes of manager. I think Oscar's just not adapted to this new system well. But I think once we get Tete and Aliar back, I think that's when you could see the best from him.
I'd jump on that, and I'd say that the best game I've seen him play, in my opinion, was we lost 5-2.
Yeah, West Brom.
But West Brom, but the 2 goals he scored, it was on the end of a cross, which is a really good move. Tete, I think, provided it, and then the second goal where he bullied off one defender, took a touch, and then put it in the back of the net. Like sometimes
bullied Semi Ajayi, didn't he? Bullied Semi Ajayi.
And bear in mind, he's about 6'5" and built. So I just think that there's a player that's got such quality up there in that front 3. I agree with you, Tom, that he needs a bit more service. And you look at like our formation at the moment, you would probably say that in terms of like real quality, like Coyle's got a few good crosses in him, right? But I think that in terms of real quality, the only person that was really provided in that was Pelkas, who's now injured for 3 months, and Tufan when he's on song. But often he's not. So at the moment, there's not really anybody that can provide anything for him. And I think that's the thing. But having said that, a lot of the goals that he scored were made off his own back, the ones that he got at the start of the season. So where's that player gone? And Rossini needs to find him.
Yeah, but I do think there was times in the Sunderland game where there was chances to play him through, and we're just not taking him. Instead of playing him the direct ball through, we're looking wide again all the time. I saw there was loads of times we're looking to Longman and looking to Slater, but there was points where we could just play the ball through, and we choose not to. And I think that's the sort of chance that he needs, bearing down on goal. And then he's had a few snapshots here and there, but he's not had any real service, I don't think, in the recent weeks. And that penalty was like a great chance for him to sort of build his confidence a bit and maybe let him go into the next game. Instead, he's going down with his confidence lower than ever because he thinks, he's missed that penalty. Now he needs to sort of get that goal. It's like he's coming as a new striker again and needs to get his first goal, even though he's already scored 8.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
It is like that. Yeah. It's so frustrating though, isn't it? Because it's a bit of a throwback to earlier in the season when we said we need the injured players back desperately. Pelkas came back because wasn't he injured to begin with, and he's gone out again. So I think pre-season we had Tufan, Tete, Aliar, and Oscar, and I think those 4 when they were playing, they got the best out of each other on the counter attack. But especially that game against Norwich and Coventry, where we won those games, but we didn't really have the ball. So but then now we're more of a possession-based team, and that doesn't seem to be getting the best out of the players we've got. Even the ones who aren't injured.
We miss Admanesh so much, like the way he stretches the game, and
so much energy.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing about him is that he's going to pull defenders to areas they don't want to be in. He's actually a really good sort of goal scorer. You know, his position has been a striker when he's been in sort of Iran and over in Turkey as well. He's the type of player that can cause defenders a lot of problems, and I think that we just lack that real, genuine pace going forward. Sometimes I think that often when it's slow, it just feels like there's nobody that's going to make that run that's going to like cause a left back or right back problems. It's almost like the defense that we play against can kind of get their shape, and we're relying on a neat ball from Seri or Tufan or somebody to unlock their defense. When sometimes you just need somebody to run in behind and cause them a load of trouble. I think Sadmanesh was brilliant for us at the start of the season, and again that opened things up for Tete and particularly Oscar to make a bit more of what was available to him. So he'll be a massive plus when he gets back. I'm not sure when I don't know he's in training. I think his New Year's
end of Jan, to be honest.
day away.
End of Jan, maybe.
Yeah. So I think somewhere in there, but he'd be great for us.
I think with Aliar as well, he's not only good going forward, stretching defence, he's also good defensively. You see him tracking back.
Yeah,
he played wing back at some point, didn't he? Yeah,
like he was our man of the match when he played wing back, and it's probably the first time in his career he's played there, and that just shows the sort of player he is. He's willing to play anywhere for the team, graph for the team, add quality, and I think he's only 21 years old as well. He can only get better. I think that signing has been a snip. I think I think 4 million or something ridiculous. I think that's a steal for him, considering how good he can get to. Yeah.
You looking just quickly dropping back to the World Cup. If you'd have put him in the Iranian team, like he'd have been the best player on the pitch. Like just in terms of his what he brings, the excitement. In my opinion, like the excitement that he brings.
Maybe apart from Azmoun.
Yeah, I mean he was good. Yeah, but I just think that he would have added a real quality to that team as well. And like you talk about, you build your profile at the World Cup. I mean, look at McAllister at Brighton. I mean, he's got Man United thinking about 80 million signing for him. Like, he's a good player, but he's not world beater.
He's not that way.
But he is a world beater.
Okay, I was just about to say he is a world beater because he just won the World Cup. But him on his own is not a world beater. And if he's a great player and he's shown a lot in the World Cup, but he's not. But that's the thing. We just need to get him back, Alier back, and I think that'll make a big difference up front. And hopefully that'll help Oscar score a few goals.
I think we might need to redefine world beater because I don't think he's just won a World Cup to be dismissed like that. Poor guy.
Also, Nathaniel, he doesn't give a flying you-know-what about what I think. A boy from Wakefield. Like, he doesn't care what I think. He's won a World Cup. I'm sat in a £6 fleece. Do you know what I mean? That's the difference between, me and him. No, it's a charity show. I don't know where it's from, but it's that's the difference. But yeah, I think as I say, I think Alier would be a real plus when he gets back.
I think that's the two players that we missed the most. Like like you said, they're stretching defences, and that's a lot of the football we play is in front of the defence. But if you have someone that stretches, you automatically push forward as a team, and that's how we can get more possession in the opposition half. But
it's so frustrating that not only were they injured for us, but we couldn't see them at the World Cup because Aliar against England would have been a really good thing to watch. I guess the last thing about the Sunderland game, it's not a massive point, but they switched around which paths they attacked each end. They City attacked the north end, north stand in the second half. I don't think that made any difference. I think, again, that was probably just something like, things aren't going well. We prefer to attack the north end, but really that's just aesthetics, isn't it? It's not really going to change anything.
Being an All-Star member, I was happy with the change. I prefer attacking the end that you sat, second half.
Oh yeah,
but I think obviously South would say the opposite. But
I don't think it will change anything to the team.
I'll jump in here. The most successful portion of this club's history has been attacking the South Stand in the second half, lads. So, I mean, a season ticket holder for 10 years and saw some of the most amazing goals. Myler against Liverpool. We're talking about
Myler against Sunderland FA Cup as well.
FA Cup. Talk about the goals against the second goal against Cardiff in the last game of the season when we went up. As a true South Stander, you've got to play that way in the second half. To be fair, that's just.
I was South Stand member from 2015, and then till now. So obviously, if I was still sat there, I'd want it was to be attacking South. But now I've moved to North. I'm like, I want us to swap. But Yeah.
So I just thought that was worth mentioning, although probably not. But I think shall we discuss a little bit about the January transfer window and our aims and what we need there? I'll start with Ozan. Well, we've got however long we want, really, but or until the 31st of January, I guess.
We'll be 31 by the time we finish this, then. Jesus.
I'll start with Tufan, who was linked away to Syria a few weeks ago during the World Cup. I think he's our second top goal scorer. He scored against Sunderland. Hopefully, we can start to see the best of him again. Hopefully, that will give him a lift. And I think he played relatively well off the bench. Sort of Frank Lampard arriving in the box like he did and scoring. So.
Tufan and Lampard in the same sentence, Nathaniel. Love that, mate.
I never thought I'd hear that.
Oh my God.
Oh.
Lampard could probably run more than Tufan would tracking back, even at his age at the moment. But, I mean, is he worth keeping around then? I think so.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I think Tufan is one of Rosenior's biggest sort of projects. Can he get the best out of Tufan?
Yeah.
Because I think we all see it in pockets, these bits of quality, and we all think, you know what, he's brilliant.
Yeah.
Like some of the goals he scored, some of his link-up plays just excellent. And he's very clever. Yeah. So it's just about trying to get the best out of him consistently, not just game to game, but like during a full 90 minutes. Because sometimes he is the type of player like Robert Corrin kind of used to be, where there'd be moments where he'd be brilliant and you'd think, wow, he's amazing. And then he just ghost away from games like he wasn't there.
Grzycki maybe.
Yeah.
He's got the quality.
Yeah, and it's just about making sure that we've got a player that can do that. I think we've invested quite a lot in him. I think that he's somebody that has got real quality, plenty of international caps, plenty of experience at the top level. Why would you not keep somebody of that quality? I mean, what do we gain from selling him? I don't think too much. You know, we may get a bit money in, but this owner looks like he's got, you know, deep pockets. So he's the type of player that you want to keep in your team if you want to, you know, push up the league, because he's ultimately going to be the one that's going to create and hopefully make a few happy memories scoring goals for City. So yeah, absolutely keep Tufan.
Yeah, cool. And then of course,
the thing is with Tufan, I think it's where we played him sort of deep sometimes, but I think his best position is definitely behind the striker. I think I think if you play him deep, you know, as a playmaker, he can affect the game, but not as much as he would if he was playing in behind the striker. And I think if he's once Aliyama and Setty are back, I think that's when we could see the best of him, because he's got sort of them wingers that are direct that he can free, and you know, he's obviously his best qualities arriving into the box, I think, and finishing off chances when, you know.
The way I see him, he's a luxury player, if that makes sense.
I said that as well. Yeah.
If you're a top quality side and you have him in your team, he'll work wonders for you, because you've got runners that are going to help him out, right? We've got a team of runners, which is great, but he's the only bit of real quality that apart from Seri, that we've got sort of towards that end of the pitch at the moment. So when you play him, you need him to do more, and that's what the point I'm trying to make is that you need to do more in the game to justify him being played, and that's what Rossini's got to do, because as I say, there's a lot of games in the Championship that you can't afford to have one player that's not doing X amount in a game, because you're just going to fall short. So he needs to be more consistent, more involved in the play, because when he is involved, we look good. Like it's exciting, and you feel as though when he's on the ball, as you say, Tom, just behind the striker, that there's something that's going to happen. Just needs to be more consistent for me.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. Yeah.
So one player that's already left and is, you know, surely the first of many to leave, along with maybe Smith or Randall Williams, those sort of people, is Andy Cannon. I don't think we've mentioned him leaving on the podcast, but he's gone to Wrexham, to Ryan Reynolds, and I don't think there's much to say. He wasn't even in the squad officially, but good luck to him. I think National League is probably his level. I think part of January will probably be sort of getting rid of the deadwood that McCann signed on freeze last year, because you know, all good people that, you know, probably have good careers, but probably not at this club. So but that, I think the players that are leaving are fairly obvious. But what positions do we need to get in? We've already said goalkeeper from Matt. Do we need another centre half? Because I mean, obviously we do. How many centre halves do we need, Tom?
Yeah, probably two, to be fair. Yeah, at least. I mean, experienced centre half is what was crying out for at the start of the season. That's what we should look to target. I think you've got a very young defence, apart from Cyrus Christie and Louis Coyle. And I think you need someone that's sort of experienced at this level to sort of come in and sort of slot in maybe not even play every game, but sort of add that sort of leadership presence that we've missed. I think we do have, like Louis Coyle as a leader, but surely if you've got a leader, you've got to have someone that has sort of played at a higher level and sort of done it. And I think obviously Louis Coyle's a local lad, but I think you need another sort of captain sort of material in there. And that's sort of the key, I think, area that we need to improve, as well as holding midfield as well.
Yeah. Well, because Coyle is the captain, but he doesn't really play, so I guess we don't get his experience sometimes. And then I guess Greaves has gone out to left back, so maybe, I know McLaughlin and Jones are decent enough, but Figueiredo is a bit of a liability, so maybe that's why we need at least one centre half. But Matt, I mean, Tom said it, we need a defensive midfielder. We really need someone in the sort of mould of Smallwood, because Seri is good on the ball, but he doesn't get stuck in enough, does he?
See, when you said that, I kind of thought, I agreed, and then I'm just thinking on that. So who would he replace in that team?
Well, I'm not sure, because I don't think you can take Seri out because of his quality, and then I think at times they've sort of. I look at it as if you can't play Seri without Woods, because Woods does the tackling for him. But them combined are good. But really, you want someone who's does both those roles. So you'd have to replace two of them almost, in a way, if you could find someone better.
It's a real tricky one, because you actually look at our midfield options. You've got Doc, Slater, Seri, Woodsy, and those Tufan arguably that can sit in there as well.
Attacking, isn't he, more?
Yeah, so I would say you probably got 4 players that are kind of there. The thing about it is, Greg has been an attacking midfielder most of his career, and he's had to drop back just because of the style of play. Woods kind of played more attacking for Birmingham when he was there. Seri also played more attacking when he was at another club, like when he was out in Turkey, before when he was in France.
Yeah.
And so Slater's the only one who you would kind of think is a CDM, but actually he's not really, because
he's playing on the wing now, isn't he?
He's been playing on the wing, and he's scored quite a few goals, and he's looked good sort of going forward. So it's a really tricky one. I think that you are actually right. I think there needs to be a player that is literally there to hold, and that is it. I think that Richie Smallwood is too slow for this league, and people can say otherwise, but he is. I agree that we need to have somebody in the squad that can do that. I'd be surprised if they were to get in straight away unless it's somebody of real quality. But yeah, I think that's a really tricky one. I don't know if it's just a case of Brasini trying to get more out of the players we've already got, because I personally think we need more in other positions than we do a holding midfielder. That's just my take on it. I think we need 2 centre halves. Figueiredo can go anywhere other than the MKM. Lock the door. Like, don't let him in. Bit of a liability, said Nathaniel. Jesus, like he makes me look like Maldini, and I'm terrible. So it's really frustrating, because he's the other one. We talked about it earlier about the individual mistakes and the little things that just provoke.
It's mostly him.
Team. It's him every time. Yeah. So it's just, that's the thing that annoys me. So we went, and he was the one who was supposed to come in and bring experience. Like he was the one who was 28.
He was 29. No nonsense.
Forrest, no nonsense. In pre-season, I thought, I love this guy, putting his head everywhere.
Yeah.
That was great. And then he's just, as the games have gone on, he's frustrated, I think, a lot of Hull City fans. And I completely agree with Tom. I said a couple of podcasts ago, we need someone like Michael Dawson in there. Somebody who's like that sort of player. Towards the end of his career, when he came in and he just assured the team, came in and then he was made captain, and just is able to play the passes that Rossini wants him to play. We need somebody like the equivalent of that in this team right now. I think that would really settle the defence.
Look how good Maguire got when he was next to Dawson, learning from him. I think that's the sort of player we need to bring on, the likes of McLaughlin, Greaves. But on the sort of, it's obviously the holding midfield point. Adam Traore is the forgotten man, and I think he was sort of that player brought in that was going to be playing next to Seri, I think, in midfield, and then obviously Tufan just a bit ahead. But I think Adam Traore is someone, obviously, once he is back from injury, as someone. I don't know when he's back, to be fair, but I think he's out for the season. So but definitely needs
I
time.
think he'll
Yeah,
have
the
January,
season.
won't he? I think he'll be with Tete, Aliar, and Traore.
Yeah.
They'll be sort of January signings or February.
But I think he's someone that can come into the team, have that energy that we need next to Seri, and
Hopefully.
energy, tackling. Obviously, he's great going forward as well. But I think he was signed originally to play next to Seri. That's why we got the deal done. But
it was Tufan, Seri, Traore midfield that everyone was talking about.
Yeah,
and then
the
we've
trio,
not seen it.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of the times we've not even seen Tufan or Seri in the same team, or just the one of them. So yeah, really, this team that we envisaged with the signings hasn't really come to fruition, has it? And then I've got here, because Burnsy was saying on the commentary, and I'm not really sure I agree, that we need another striker or two. I think he says that anytime we're not winning. But I mean, Tete and Ale will be back. We've got Oscar, who's second top goal scorer in the league, which is, that's a fact. Surely he'll come good at some point, I think. And Longman's done a job. So I don't know where a space for a striker would be. And plus, they still wouldn't get any service. So what other positions could we get if other than centre back or centre defensive midfield? Because I don't know about striker.
I think that what Burnsy may mean by that is not necessarily somebody who's like an out-and-out striker, but then somebody who's like an Alier, Simanesh, where he is just like, he can play there, but he's just someone bursting with pace. Like I mentioned earlier, someone to just stretch that team, because, we don't look
That's
exciting.
where we lack. That's where we lack the pace, and that's what we've lost with Aliar and Tete, like the sort of like physicality and pace, and because they're both quite quick.
Exactly.
And you look at Longman, and he's not a quick player. He's someone that can drive at an opposition defence, but he's not someone that's going to beat a man, I don't think. Whereas in Slater as well, I think he's good when he's sort of in the attacking third, but he's not quick either. Trying to think who else. Tufan's not quick really. So you've got a team there that struggles to stretch the opposition, and that's where, if you're going to play this possession system, you need someone that can just stretch a defence, because otherwise you're just sort of playing in front of them, and defenders having it so easy.
Yeah, I totally agree, Tom. I totally agree. I was putting exactly the point I was going to make. Somebody to stretch, just like Simanesh, who can really come in and do that job, because I think that if you leave Oscar on his own up there without any sort of person just to even just link up with him from a point of view when you're going forward, somebody to make that run that's going to open up the space for Oscar to then take a touch around the defender and score, just to put that doubt in people's minds. Like one of the goals the other day in the World Cup final, I think, or maybe it was a semi-final with Alvarez, and he went through and he just absolutely gunned towards goal, a couple of deflections, and then it went in. That was great, but it was a supporting runner. I don't know who it was that was just open, and the defenders were all thinking, "Oh, he's going to pass there," which he maybe should have done. And he didn't, but it caused that doubt in the defender's mind. At the moment, you look at us going forward, who's joining Oscar if there's a counter-attack? Who's doing that? None of them. And it's not the fault of the players, because they're not the type of players to do that. But that's why I think January is important, because we need to buy a player who's just like that, who's been playing that way their whole career, or they're a young player who's that's his main sort of attribute. I just think that's a really important key to what we need in January.
It's like Harvey Vale. What do you think to him? He sort of came in as that sort of player that could have been that sort of quick winger, but he's not really materialised like that. And
we've not seen him, have we?
Yeah.
I think
he's been
came on against Sunderland, but I think it's harsh, but it's one of them where it's not worked out. And I'm not sure whether we can sort of rely on him to sort of drag us through where we are now. I think he's that sort of player that could come in January and sort of make a difference in a team that's doing well. But when you're struggling at the bottom, you don't see the best of him, because ultimately there's a lot of time where we don't have the ball, or we haven't had the ball. So yeah.
There's a young French lad who could be useful for. I know Ozan was at the World Cup final, but he's got a hat-trick in the World Cup final. And I think with sort of Alier and then Oscar and maybe Mbappe on that other side, we could really start to kind of push up with the league a little bit. What do you think, boys?
Well, I think this other guy, the short little Argentine forward, I think he'd work better. Or maybe Mbappe and him on the other side. And that Longman in the middle. Yeah.
McAllister, but he's not a world beater. so I won't get him in.
No, yes. I was talking about Messi, but yeah, they're both very good. I'd take McAllister. I would certainly take McAllister. So the next match, another game at the MKM, which will be 20 years old again. Blackpool 22nd, we're 21st. Basically, almost a relegation 6-pointer in a way. Although I don't think we'll get relegated, but I've been wrong before. And we are over halfway through the season, so I think if you don't start picking up wins, even though we've got injuries and the things we're complaining about, if we don't start picking up wins in these sort of games, we will be in an actual relegation battle. So, is it a must-win?
I don't think it's a must-win at this stage of the season.
Yeah,
I think this season we perform better against the teams that are better than the sort of ones that are around us.
Yeah,
but I would be disappointed if
that's
we didn't get 3 points.
That's most teams, though, isn't it?
Yeah,
most teams are better than the teams around us because we're rubbish.
Yeah, but no, I mean, I would be disappointed if we didn't get the 3 points. But if we got a draw, I wouldn't be like.
I'd be for senior out. Yeah. We're going down.
I wouldn't be like throwing the kitchen sink at people or something. I don't know.
I mean, it's not a must-win, but we've got to win it. Yeah. I think it's not an official must-win. No game is a must-win except if you're.
If it was 40 games into the season.
Oh well, definitely.
Yeah,
although I think we'd probably already be down if we had 26 points. With
no, but I mean, if it was in position, if it was like a point or two above the relegation zone, then I'd be very worried.
But how do we see this one going? Are we going to finally get a home win? Because at home we have been pretty dire. It's 1 win in 9 now at home. But are we confident?
So I stay pretty quiet then, which is rare for me. When you boys said this is not a must-win. That's one of the main reasons why we must win, because we've got to stop this horrible run of losing or drawing games at home. It's you're built on your home form, and the away wins and a few draws help, right? We've got to win against Blackpool. For me, it's a must-win because Rossini's had a couple of decent results, but we've got to get a win where it's just like I just want a game where we just win 3-0
get the monkey off the back a bit, sort of thing.
Yeah, and we're gonna get Oscar scoring 2 goals, and so yes, the results are massive, but it's just the overall thing. Get a few confidence bits in that Oscar then might start firing again. Rossini trusts in his attacking players going forward. They get a bit more confidence. We put a little bit of a gap between us and the bottom sort of 3 before Christmas. Christmas.
To be fair, I do think over the Christmas period it's imperative that we do sort of get the 3 points and then we could push on towards Birmingham, Wigan. I think in terms of that, it's a period where we need to start winning. Just so we get that momentum. If we lost the game, I think we go into them next 2 games within the space of a week. You go there with low confidence.
It's a good chance to get momentum, isn't it? Certainly.
Massive chance. Team 22nd. Sorry, Nathaniel, to cut you off, mate. I don't mean to. I just think that it's like I say, not going into Christmas, but going on Boxing Day, getting that result against a team that are right next to us, who have got no quality. Like when we went to their place, we tore them apart, and they had a few injuries, but they looked like a nothing side. It's a game that I think Rossini needs to basically say to the fans, look, we've worked for a month away. I've had a few decent results. I've come back, got a couple of draws. Okay, right, fair enough. Got to win against Blackpool for me. Got to win.
Yeah. So can we agree on a must not lose?
Yeah, must not lose.
Yeah.
We'll agree on that, and then we'll get beat.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going, and it's Christmas spirit. It's a must not lose against Blackpool, and it's not going to be a good match, is it? It's probably going to be 0-0 or something. So, I mean, I hope not, but I really hope not. But I think that might be my prediction, just to not jinx it. So, Tom, what about you? Prediction for the Blackpool match?
Oh, it's putting me on the spot here. I think.
Come on, Tommy. You know what to do, mate.
2-1 win. 2-1 win.
2-1. Nice.
2-1, yeah.
So we're not going to win, okay? And what about you, Matt?
I predicted 1-1 against Sunderland. So.
Oh, okay.
Prediction
you get points for that.
Yeah.
I'm not keeping track.
No, but I'm going to go 3-0, mate. I'm going to go 3-0.
To
you
who?
Know what? Good question. It's a good point. Oh God, I hope it's the home side.
Yes.
The worst game of football I've ever seen was Blackpool away on New Year's Day. I got a horrible
0-0,
cold.
2013. I was there as well.
Were you? Oh mate, well,
so
you know,
bad.
mate, we've
I was
aged from it, haven't we?
one of the coldest I've ever been. As long as that
I
was
was-
Birmingham
so
away,
it's
2018. Yeah.
Oh my
So
God,
bad.
it was the worst game of. It was like there's more sand on the pitch than more grass. Like they had a bloke
Yeah.
come on the pitch at half time in a mobility scooter with a little flag in protest against the owners of Blackpool because the stadium's
Yeah.
falling down. They had a temporary stand to put the away fans in. Terrible. So hopefully it's not the same situation on Monday on Boxing Day. So I'm going to go confidently, say we're going to win 3-0. I'm going to say Oscar gets the monkey off his back and he gets 2 goals. And then Tufan finishes it off and does what he does usually, where he scores towards the end of a game. So I'm going to go 3-0 Tigers. Merry Christmas.
That's about, if he was going on the betting odds, that's about 500 to 1, I reckon.
Yeah, and I'm more than happy to have that over Christmas as well.
Yeah.
That.
That'd be a good return, wouldn't it? Certainly.
Great return.
I certainly won't be betting on a whole 3-0 win.
Yeah, what are you saying, mate?
But I mean, I hope we win, but I'm not hugely confident. If we give them the ball a lot, then we've got a better chance of winning. I've looked, and the only home game we've won this season, which is, I mean, it's not many of those, where we've had more of the ball, was against Bristol, the first match, and then even the Wigan game, which I thought we played very well in. Our most recent home win, we had less of the ball. We've had 70%, 68%, 65% possession in some of the previous games, and we've still lost or drawn. So maybe if we change tactics up a bit and just let Blackpool kick it around their half for the first half for a bit, maybe we can win in the second half. But I'm going to go officially 0-0. I think just to avoid the jinx.
What a Scrooge, mate!
0-0.
Come on.
Well, technically
Boxing
Christmas
Day
will be
produces-
over by that point.
Nah, but Boxing Day produces goals there, and you're going 0-0.
Well, yes, is it 1933 or something where there were lots
Where
of
they bring
goals.
up the graphic every year, like
brilliant.
1974. Yeah.
10, 10, 10 and all that. Great stuff. So, well, thanks for everyone for joining us. Have a lovely Christmas if we don't do another episode before then. Don't suppose we will, at least about the city. Maybe we'll do one on Thursday about the World Cup and the overview of the Qatar World Cup. But Matt and Tom, thanks very much for joining us. And we'll be back soon, hopefully after a delicious 3-0 win for Hull, as Matt said, but I doubt it. So thanks again, and Merry